Episode of Leadership Satsang. I'm your leadership coach, Yukti Kapoor Mendirata, welcoming you all for this very special episode that we do every single month. And this is when we meet live and we talk live, we interact, and I pick up questions that you have in your mind, challenges that you are facing. It's an open house. It's an open Q&A session today, and I'm super excited to help you overcome some of the leadership challenges that you find yourself stuck with. But before we get there, let's get here into this moment completely. And how we do that is by chanting together. So may I please invite you to sit comfortably wherever you are and gently close your eyes. We will chant Om 5 times together. If you can, chant it out loud in your own space, because that's what will help you to create the vibrations, and those vibrations will help you to stay more in the moment. Yes, so please keep your spine straight and relax your shoulders. Take a nice deep breath in and breathe out. And let's breathe in one more time and breathe out. And with the next breath, we will chant Om as we exhale. So take a nice deep breath in again. Om. 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 Shanti. 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 Rub your hands together and gently place them on eyes, and ears, and face, and the entire body, and slowly come back. So how do you feel right now in this moment? I'm going to put my phone in front of me as well so that I can catch all your live comments. There's a bit of a lag, when we are streaming live. So let us connect here as well so that I can look at your comments and your questions. This is your day with me. Right? You can consider it to be pretty much a one-on-one coaching session, forgetting about anybody else who's logged in right now. If you are facing a challenge, just put it out and let us see what we can do and how I can help you to overcome the challenge right away. Okay. Ram, welcome. Very good evening. Good evening, Indiran. Good evening, everyone who's joined in live. May I please quickly get a hello from you and tell me, how are you feeling after this chant? Are you feeling better? Are you feeling relaxed? And which part of the world are you in? Let's have that flowing into the comments right away. I'm refreshing time and again to ensure that I'm catching every single comment that you're sharing. Thank you so much for doing that. And as I hear from you all on the chat, it's also time for me to open the house for any questions that you may have. So bring it on, BIO, bring out your questions, your challenges that you're facing in the space of leadership, or even in your personal space wherein the power and the strength of spirituality really shows up. A lot of people continue to misunderstand what spirituality really means. So when I talk about spiritual leadership with leaders, some of them really get concerned. They think that spirituality is the same as religion. And I can't blame them, because a lot of spiritual gurus and teachers in our country, not all, but a few, uh, do put out religious content, religious understanding, like of whatever religion that they follow in the name of spirituality. It kind of comes in together. It is not very easy to create a clear, distinction or demarcation between this is spirituality and that is religion. But I think it is also not a complete overlap, right? It's not like they're the same. Spirituality for me is the reality of your spirit, the reality of yourself, your reality, the real you. That is spirituality. And that requires some bit of conscious learning, some bit of enhancing self-awareness, and some bit of going deeper through guidance. Spirituality requires a mentor or a coach, because you need to be directed towards that connection. Now, practices like spiritual practices, like sitting in silence, or meditating, or Zen walk, all these are ways for you to disconnect from the transactions that we have to conduct in our life. But what we carry with us still is the mind. This chatter doesn't stop. Whether you're sitting silently, or you're talking, or you are out walking, you take this with you everywhere. Now, how do you deal with this? How do you learn to mind the mind? That is where a mentor or a coach can come in to guide, to share a few techniques, to bring in that necessary clarity, which can help you to go beyond the thoughts that you are surrounded with and unaware of. Most of the times, we're not even clear about what we're thinking. Do you know that? Do you know that of whatever number of thoughts that go on in your mind, most of them are just unconscious. They are just there without your knowing. So if you don't even know what you're thinking, then how do we even start with getting a grip on those thoughts? Isn't it? And that is what makes spirituality so interesting. It's a very important conscious learning that we have to bring into our life, which will not only help us to lead better, it will help us to live a better life. It will help us to have better relationships. And I always say the quality of your life is a function of the quality of your relationships. It starts with those 5 people who are the closest to you, who matter the most to you. And if you start improving those relationships, everything else becomes much easier. You get that strength you need to deal with whatever other challenges that are happening around or might, show up in life. Yeah, so with that said, let us see what are some of the comments we're getting here. Meghna, good to have you here. I'm looking into my phone, and hence you will see me looking down. Ajinkya, welcome, welcome. Glad that you joined in. Superb. Feeling great? Awesome, Ajinkya. I'm so happy to hear that. Welcome, Shilpa. So good to have all of you here. Tell me, what is your question? What is your cue for my A today? What is your question that I can take up and help you with? BIO, bring it on, and I will do my best to help you deal with this particular situation. And as you put your thoughts together around what questions you have and what are some of the challenges that you need to overcome, I want to share one challenge with you that I keep hearing about very often in a lot of my sessions, and that is to learn how to manage our line managers, people who are senior to you, who have an authority, who have a title, and hence are empowered within the organization. This person, this line manager, is also another human like you and me, isn't it? Which means that he or she will come with their own imperfections. And those imperfections could include the biases that they have, the liking that they have for a few, and dislike that they might have developed for a few others. We're all humans. We're all, impacted by the emotions that we experience, the feelings that we have. So it's kind of obvious that people who are senior to us, people we're reporting to, are also stuck with these kind of challenges that you probably stuck with, that, what do I do if I genuinely like somebody more than the other person? And that is maybe for some very good reasons, right? But if that person is not you, then how do you create that connection? How do you still ensure that you get what you deserve? in your organization for your hard work. If you don't get along well with your line manager, if you don't have a good relationship with your boss, how do you still ensure that you become successful professionally, that you get what you deserve because of the hard work that you think you're putting in? So that's a very, very common question that I hear. If this is a question on your mind as well, then say me too in the chat. Thankfully, me too is not such a concern for us to put out as a comment, right? So just say me too, and I will know that this question is something that you're dealing with. This is a situation that you want to overcome as well. So I will go ahead and share some thoughts on this. See, what we need to understand is that an organization is a group of people. Every individual is different. Every single individual is unique. We run into comparisons early on in our life, very early. It starts with how our parents talk about us and our siblings, or us and our friends. And let me tell you, it is all done with very good intentions. Like, we cannot and should not doubt the intentions of our parents, because they're the biggest well-wishers that we are blessed with. So what do? They compare us with an intention to motivate us. And what happens to us is not so much motivation, but complex, right? We kind of start feeling that we're not good enough. And that comparison becomes an attitude. It becomes our mentality. And we continue to compare for our entire life. When we are a part of an organization, we start comparing ourselves with other people who are at the same level. And that is why we call this corporate life a rat race, right? Or a professional life a rat race, right? I don't think it is one unless we think it to be one, unless we have the attitude of being a rat and wanting to be the fastest rat on the track. But if you are not a rat, or you don't think of yourself as one, then there is no such track, there is no such race that you're running. Each and every individual is as unique as our fingerprints are. In the sense, in terms of our characteristics and personality, right? And our style, whether it's communication style or leadership style or parenting style, it's all beautifully, absolutely unique. But what's also true is that this understanding is not developed well enough. It does not exist in our conversations. It does not happen to us naturally, to be mindful of how unique people are. So when you are a line manager, what do? You've got 5 people reporting to you, and you automatically start drawing a comparison between the 5. Do you do that? You do that. Everybody does that, right? So we start comparing them. We give them tasks which are pretty much similar tasks. Some people perform it better than the other people, and that's what makes these people our favorites, just as how we were favorites of some of our teachers in school. What makes you a teacher favorite, or we call it as a teacher's pet, is the fact that you're good in that particular subject. So the teacher has to spend less effort on you. And he or she gets instant gratification for the work that they're putting, the hard work that they're putting in every single day is reaching out to these few people. And these few students then become his or her favorite, because you are confirming to them that they are reaching out to you, right? And you're making their life easier. You kind of bringing down the amount of effort that they need to put in because of a few students like you. So will we have some favorites? Will we have a few people we will like more than the other people? The answer, unfortunately, is a yes. But allowing that to come in as a bias, allowing that to come in terms of our roles and responsibilities as a leader, that is where we lose our ability to lead. And so I strongly believe that not everyone who's playing a leadership role is a leader necessarily. It takes a lot of conscious effort to be a leader. To be a leader, you have to be conscious of the biases that you are kind of surrounded by, right? And that takes away the clarity of a particular situation for you. So now here is a line manager who's stuck with his or her many biases, unaware, absolutely blindsided about it. There is nothing that you can do in terms of you being a direct or a subordinate. So what can you do? What you can do, if you are not one of the favorites, right? If you are not liked the most in the group, in the team, you need to ensure that your relationship, professional relationship in the organization is not limited to just your peers and your line manager. If you're doing that, you're making a huge, huge mistake. You need to create what I call as a networking web within the organization. A lot of people worry about networking with other professionals from other industries or their own industry, but other organizations. They want to go to this networking event and that networking event and, various other such conferences and symposiums and opportunities that you have to meet. But what about people you are working with, people who have a direct impact on your career, on your growth, people who are within your organization? We need to network with them as well. In fact, I would say we need to network with them first. Who are these people? These people are not only the ones who are in your team or the ones you report to. These are people who are the peers of your line manager. These are the people who are maybe at your level, but in different functions, different departments. And these are also definitely people who are not just at the level of your line manager, but one level senior. So what are you doing here is you creating a visibility of your work and your presence, which is spread like a web within the organization. When you create this web is when you're not limited to only one person's point of view. Are you understanding this? If you're not known to anybody else, nobody knows you exist. You have these two people you have lunch with, right? These are the two people you talk to. These are the two people you have your 10 cups of coffee with every single day. And then there is this one line manager who you're trying to deal with. These are the three people you know. Is there any way in hell you can be successful no matter how good you are? The chances are very bleak, very bleak. So how do we increase the probability of our success? We increase that by increasing our network, by reaching out to many other people across functions, across levels, who know you not just for who you are, but also for your work. They're aware of some new initiatives that you take. They're aware of your interests. They're aware of what are some recent achievements or accomplishments that you've been able to gather for yourself. Right? These are some of the things that we need to put out as a part of conversation. What we do instead is waste those networking opportunities over some futile, irrelevant gossip. Now, it feels like fun, and I have to admit that it does. It's fun to gossip, but it does not add any value to your success. In fact, it takes away a lot of opportunities sometimes because you land up putting your foot in your mouth sometimes, right? If you're caught in a wrong environment talking about somebody and you could just be in a spot for no good reason. So I am a very strong believer of the fact that gossiping is an absolute waste of time and is a sure shot way for you to take away some amount of credibility that you've gathered with a lot of hard work. Because remember one thing, if somebody is gossiping to you about someone else, they are also definitely gossiping to someone else about you. Gossipers just gossip. Somebody else is a content today, you will be the content tomorrow. And that's a fact. So now you have to decide, where do you want to put in that time that you have, that limited time between 100 tasks that are on your plate? When you get up for that cup of tea or that coffee break or that lunch break, what do you want to do with that time? You have offsites. You go with those same two people, you come back knowing only those two people. At best, you will talk to three other people if there is some team building exercise that happened on the offsite, and you do not maintain that connection, you do not nurture those relationships, you come back to your city and you forget about those people. That's not networking. Networking is when you invest your time and effort to stay connected with people with the only intention. Let's listen to this very carefully, because we need to understand what is networking before we indulge in it, right? The only intention behind networking is to see how you can add value to other people. How can you help? How can you give something to people, whether at a professional level or at a personal level? That is the only intention with which you should network. Now, a lot of people think that networking is about distributing their visiting cards and collecting a lot of phone numbers and then sending them happy Holi, happy Diwali messages. And you can comfortably say that I have 500 people in my network. Is that how it works? Absolutely not. You don't need to connect with 500 people, connect with 5, but invest in these 5 relationships. Be mindful of what are some of their challenges. How can you help? Just give me a moment, one second. Yeah, I need water real bad. Yeah. So just check with them on, what are the kind of things that they are dealing with? What are the challenges that they are dealing with? Can you help them to connect with somebody you know? If you don't know the answer to that question, can you connect them with someone who might? So the only thought on your mind is to see how you can be of help to this person. Imagine going to your work with that intention every day. What kind of relationships will you build? And when you build these real relationships, is when your line manager does not have that much influence on your career. They'll have limited influence because you're reporting directly to them. But they are not the only word. There are other people who will have a point of view as well. There are other people who are aware of your work. And that's when your line manager is only restricted to holding a weightage. The rest of the weightage is spread out, on other relationships and other people around. Are you getting the point that I'm making here? Just give me a with you in the chat if you are following what I'm trying to tell you. It's very, very important that we understand how to create this connection. Yeah, super. And when you start creating this networking web, is when you don't have to worry too much about being the favorite. Of course, you need to build up that, that relationship where you are at least liking each other. Because if there is intense dislike, then people also take things personally. Like, you're not the only one who carries ego. Everyone carries ego. And unfortunately, the higher you go, the more successful you become, the bigger is this ego that we've not learned how to deal with. Again, that's the spirituality aspect of life which needs to come in for you to know how to deal with these nuances of your personality. But let me tell you, not many are consciously investing in understanding this. They have learned to live with it. Some of them go around telling other people that I am not at all egoistic. And these are the people who have maximum ego. Because it takes a lot of ego to say that I have no ego. You understand? Like, it takes a lot of humility to say that I need to work on my ego. So that's a sign of humility. And these line managers who are probably where they are, considering themselves to be one level up in terms of success because they're one level higher on the corporate ladder. So will they carry some amount of ego? Absolutely, yes. You carry as well. Now, you don't want to rub anybody on the wrong side, because that in any which way is not going to help you work as a team. Forget about your own personal growth. Even as a team, you will not deliver the results you need to if you don't like each other in the team. So that much investment of effort and time is required to build a cordial relationship with your line manager, but do not restrict it to that. Go ahead and create your own networking web so that the line manager never holds all the strings and plays you around. They can do that if you are known only to them. So let's start working on this immediately. If this is useful, just give me useful in the chat and I will know that you're taking away something from what I just shared. Okay, so let's see what are some of the questions that I'm looking at right now. Not being promoted in spite of very good work, a lot of appreciation from customers. How to accept this kind of situation and keep doing good work. Yeah, Santosh, I think I heard you right. I read your mind, maybe. I've answered your question to a great extent. Yeah, so, the appreciation of good work or promotion basis good work should not be limited to only one person. I just explained that. Now, to add to it, let's bring in what we call as critical thinking in the way we work. Okay, we've got to understand this very, very clearly. Your growth is only your responsibility, right? What you think you deserve, it's your responsibility to get it. Now, how do you get it? You need to apply critical thinking in your approach towards work, towards your profession, towards your career. Now, what does that mean? That means bringing in a balance between your logical self and your emotional self. We can't just work in silos and then expect the line manager to see what we are worth and give us what we think we deserve. The person we are looking at, the person who is expected to lead us, firstly, might not have the ability to lead. Secondly, if they do, they are not just focused on you. They have 5 other people in the team to look at, and they have their own responsibilities as well. So what is it that you need to do? You need to take the responsibility of bringing in logic in these conversations and not just emotions. What does that mean? That means having a very clear log of all the good work that you have done. What have you achieved? And make sure that you put it all together and not rely on your memory. That's the problem. You know what we do? We keep working hard all year long, okay? Every day we're working hard. And then that one day when that conversation happens, the appraisal discussion happens, we have no facts. We're not ready with anything. We're only sitting there with the hope that all these days, the entire year, I've worked for 12 hours. I'm hoping that my line manager will then now pay me for it, will tell me that I deserve to be at the next level. It doesn't work that way. There is another bias here in action is called as recency bias, which means पूरा साल आपने मेहनत किया है, the whole year you've worked, but वो appraisal के एक हफ्ता पहले या एक महीना पहले, if you've got into an argument, that is what will stay on that person's mind. And we are talking human psychology here, so don't blame the person. That's how it works for all of us, right? So what happens most recently is what stays with us for much longer. So what do? We cannot depend on that last 1 week or last 1 month before an appraisal discussion. We need to bring in the discipline of putting a log together where we capture whatever is going right, whatever appreciation we are getting, it's documented. I to go with that level of preparation and say, you know what, sir or ma'am, here is what I have done in the year 2023 or in the year 2024, whatever that year is, right? This is all that I have achieved. And this is what I think I deserve. This is how I assess myself on what I've done so far. And these are some of my learning and development requirements, right? And I would want your feedback on how you think I can get to my next level. That kind of a conversation is what brings in logic and emotions in a balanced way. It's not just your feelings, it's also some facts that needs to be presented. Yeah, so I hope this was useful, Santosh. I want you to bring it to practice. Please do that every single time, whether your appraisal happens once in 6 months, once a year, or quarterly. Just bring in this habit of putting things together in a document. And then you can present it and have a more meaningful, balanced discussion with your line manager outside of creating your own networking web that I just talked about. Okay, so in the interest of time, I think I'll just take one more question. And that's from Shilpa. How do we deal with toxic people in the organization who always make a point to bring us down? Very good question. Very good question. Toxic people. Are people really toxic? What do you think? Give me a yes or no in the chat. What do you think? Are people really toxic? Because if the answer is yes, then everyone they know will consider them to be toxic. Are you understanding? Like if somebody is toxic towards me, might not necessarily be that difficult or that negative towards many other people. Is that right? So am I saying that it's my fault that they're toxic towards me? No, I'm just bringing it to your awareness that people are not toxic. Their behavior towards us could be negative, could be against our own favor. That is a possibility. So let's first look at the situation the way the situation is. Are these people toxic? They are not toxic. What is not working is their negativity towards me. So now we've been able to look at it more objectively, that it's not the person who I need to correct. It is the understanding the person has about me, which has gone awry or which is kind of on a tangent to what I am all about. And that can be worked upon. That can be worked upon. Now, the amount of time and effort that you is a function of how important these people are in terms of their influence on your career, on your growth. So let's be very, very practical here. There could be this somebody who is not your peer, not your line manager, not your line manager's peer, not your line manager's line manager, basically a parallel department. And there's that somebody you just don't click with. If they don't like you, it doesn't impact you much. But if these people who you consider as toxic or their behavior is toxic towards you are the 10 people around you who have a lot of interest in what you do and a lot of impact on what you do, that's when it becomes important for us to look at this relationship and sort it out. Remember this, we don't need to make friends in every organization that we work in, right? But we need to know how to be friendly with people. You don't have to be friends. What does that mean? That means if I leave ABC Limited and I go to XYZ Limited, I might not choose to be friends with all those people I was hanging around with. Maybe one or maybe two are people who are genuinely connected with and we choose to stay in touch for a longer time. But not everyone. That does not mean that while I'm in the organization, I should not conduct myself in a friendly way. I should still be mindful of being courteous and being friendly with people that I'm working with. And I do not have the luxury to choose who they should be and how they should behave. And यहाँ पर हम अपना बहुत time waste करते हैं because we think that till I like people for who they are, I cannot be friendly with them. No. If you choose not to be friends with them, I understand. But you can't be friendly with people just because you think they are not the way you want them to be. Does not make sense. It's not practical. It just doesn't make sense. It's not for your own good either. Why? Because you cannot change anybody. Nobody can change anybody. You can't even change your own child. Forget about changing anybody else. So if you're going to go to the organization hoping that you're going to like people for who they are, and unless you like them, you're not going to be friends with them, it's going to be a tough ride for you to make much success in your professional space. So what do? You train yourself to be courteous towards people for who they are and not for who you want them to be. Having said that, you then need to learn a skill called assertive communication. Assertive communication is not aggressive. Assertive communication is your ability to put your foot down in a very clear way and in a very calm manner so that the other person can appreciate your boundaries, can understand your perspective, is made to feel inclusive and not intimidated. If you intimidate people, people will not like you. Some of them will go away, some of them will make your life more miserable. It depends on how do they deal with this intimidation. But you should keep yourself away from creating this impression of being intimidated. What do you want to do when you want to grow in an organization? You want to come across as somebody who has the attitude of being inclusive, who takes people along, who respects people for who they are and not who you want them to be. Are you getting this? So this is very, very important. Once we understand that people are going to be the way they are, is when we need to bring in the skills required to deal with people. And these skills are assertive communication to start with. Right? And then comes being able to influence people, which is the second important skill. And the third important skill, which should be right at the top of this list, is listening. Because when you listen, you understand a lot more about the kind of person you're dealing with. Please remember this, Shilpa. Nobody is a toxic person. Their behavior towards you is toxic because they feel insecure. They are intimidated by you. Or their ego has been hurt because of something you have done. Or something that has been said about you, which is probably not even true. But you've not had that relationship to even know about it. So what do? Like I said, if these people are not important, don't worry much. But if they are and they're going to have the interest and impact on your career, then spend time to understand these people, knowing that you'll have to accept them as who they are and not who you want them to be. And then have more open conversations to see what is their perspective, what's on their mind about you. People don't discuss such things openly. They will not tell you. You will have to find out. And how will you find out? By being more available, by being more in touch, instead of avoiding these people completely. Unless you have done everything you could, don't go ahead with the easiest approach of avoiding. A lot of people say this, toxic people, avoid them. Arey, kitne logo ko avoid karenge? What if this toxic person is your boss? Kaise avoid karenge? Right? Some people you can avoid, and if you can and they don't have that impact on your life, absolutely do that. But there are a few people you cannot. So what do? You need to be more open to understanding them, understand their point of view and their concerns with you. See if you can help them understand who you are. Bring in more that, that Johari Windows quadrant of openness, where people know you for who you are. That is what is missing here. Remember one thing, Shilpa, and with this I close today's session, that perception is more real than reality. You might think that this is my reality, and people think I'm bad. How silly. People are silly. I mean, how do I accept this? What you need to accept is the fact that whatever they think about you is their reality of you. And that remains their reality. And they will not bother to change the reality. You will have to take the responsibility of bridging this gap between your reality and their perception. The lesser is the gap between perception and reality, the better will be the relationships you will enjoy in life. The more they know you as who you are, the easier it will be for you to deal with relationships. So now that you know exactly what to work upon and where to look, I'm sure you will find a way to take that next step towards them and not away from them. Escape is not the best strategy at all times, right? So I hope this was useful for you all. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much. And I'm hoping that this was a useful session for you all. And I'm extremely, extremely grateful for you all to join in these satsang sessions week after week, every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. So I'm going to see you next week at 8 with a very interesting insight in the space of leadership. And that will be my answer to a question that people would have sent out to me on email. If you have one as well, then write to me on yukti@sbyacademy.com. I also nurture a community of servant leaders on WhatsApp. There are no charges, but it is only by invitation that you can be a member of this community. If you're interested, then please mention that in the comments and we will reach out to you. The name of the community is SCL Mastermind, Silhouette Circle of Leadership, SCL Mastermind. If you're interested, then please put in the comments that I would like to be invited for SCL Masterminds, and we will definitely reach out to you and extend the invitation. Till then, take very, very good care of yourself. I will see you real soon. Please drop in the comments, what are you taking away from this session? I will see you soon with another interesting insight in the space of leadership and spirituality. Take care. Thank you so much. God bless you all.